Hey everybody, and welcome to another project video. Today we are going to be making this stackable kids toy, so let's get into it. Off camera I cut things into just different size squares. I used a bunch of different scrap wood. I started with 7 by 7 inches, and then I downsized by 1/2 an inch each time, and now I'm just finding center. I cut all of the squares on my miter saw because that was just the easiest thing for me. And then the reason I'm finding center on all of these is so that I will be able to easily drill a hole in the middle so that they can slide down that dowel that we saw in the middle of that. Now over at the drill press, I'm drilling a hole that's the exact size of the dowel that I have, which is a 1-inch dowel. Drill about halfway down, a little more than halfway, that way when you glue it in, there's plenty of surface area for it to get a really good bond to that wood. This bit that I'm using here is to drill holes all the way through, and they need to be a little bit bigger than the dowel, so here I'm using a 1 1/4 inch Forstner bit, and just really carefully drilling all the way through. Then we'll repeat that step for all of the blocks. You can make it as many blocks tall as you want. I probably went a little overzealous with how many blocks I put in, but I had a lot of scrap wood, and I like all the colors together, so I think it turned out really pretty. But you can make it 4 blocks, 6 blocks, 10 blocks. The more blocks, the heavier it gets, though. As I was drilling the next one, I had a little accident. My knee just kind of gave out. I ended up tearing my meniscus. Took a ride. I couldn't walk, so I took a ride on the ambulance. I got my knee in a brace. So the rest of the video I'm sitting down because I really can't stand. So I got back and drilled the last. I had 2 more blocks to drill through. So about a week later I did that, and now I'm just sanding everything, getting all the marks off of it. So this is 80 grit, and I spare you most of the sanding, but basically you sand forever. And I sanded up to 120 grit with all of the stuff, and then I got it wet and let it dry so that the grain would raise, and then I sanded it all back down with a 180 grit soft pad. Here I'm going to shape the end of the dowel so that it can go in the hole a little bit easier, and that way there's also a little bit more room for some glue in there to really hold it in place well. After making sure all the glue squeeze out was cleaned up, then I took my square and tapped it lightly into place, making sure that it was square from every angle that I could, as best I can. That way when all the blocks are stacked up on it, it's not the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And then because it's a kid's toy, we want to round over all the edges, so I took my trim router with a 1/4-inch round over bit and rounded over all the edges and in the inside of the holes. That way, whatever edge they touch will be nice and smooth. The smaller blocks were kind of difficult. I couldn't hold it and get into the middle, so my wife came up with the idea of taking, this is actually the top of the bat that I had cut off for another project, and taking it so that I could get my hand under there and hold that, and that worked out really great. So, thanks, Claire. Once everything is rounded over and rough sanded to 80 grit, go ahead and stack it up, and then we can mark how much of the dowel that we need to cut off. Made it oversized that way. I'd rather have too much and be able to cut it off a little bit at the end. I went ahead and cut that off on my miter box setup off camera. And then back to more sanding. The smaller blocks got too complicated with the orbital sander, so I just took the pad or the sanding disc off, laid it down, and hand sanded those. And now that it's all sanded, it's time to take it inside and finish it. I finished it with butcher block beeswax stuff. You can get it at big box stores. It's about $9, but a little goes a long way. So this is the first coat, and I ended up putting 3 coats on there. It helps seal it in, and it's also food safe, so babies can put it in their mouths and it's not going to harm them. So this stuff is really easy to apply. You just wipe it on, wait 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then come back and buff it out. And you do that for each coat that you do. And then here's the final product. I'm pretty proud with the way it turned out. I love all the range of colors of the random woods for my scrap pile. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments, and thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.